extensions just to get to the number bolt. Now, the extensions that you shouldn't be using when you're torquing stuff are universal joint extensions that have a lot of play in them, and also wobble adapters or wobble sockets, which have a lot of play in them, because this will mess up your torque reading and torque spec. The final thing I want to cover is what torque wrench should you get? Well, there's two different things you have to look at. The first thing is you need to figure out what drive torque wrench you want. And the drive is what size the stud is. So here we have a 1/4 inch drive, here we have 3/8 drive, here we have 1/2 inch drive. So if your socket set is 3/8, you might consider getting a 3/8. But that's not the only thing to think about. The other thing you have to think about is what torque spec you're going to typically torque down your nuts and bolts to. So the 1/4 inch drive uses inch-pounds, which is for tightening smaller nuts and bolts. I typically don't use this. And then we have the 3/8 drive and the 1/2 inch drive. The 1/2 inch drive goes from 20 to 150 foot-pounds, which is the range that I like. This is what I use most of the time. And the 3/8 inch drive goes from 10 to 80 foot-pounds, which is a decent range, but a lot of times...
Here we're installing the Voigt. So what we have here is installation. Today we're installing the Voigt handlebar risers for the CB1000R. Now these are universal. I've colour matched them to my existing yoke, so silver, slightly off, but it's near enough the same colour. So now what we're going to do, we're going to tighten them. I've already installed them before, but I need to torque tighten them. So we're going to do that at the end. We're just going to tighten them back up first with normal Allen keys for now. And they're already tight, so I'm just going to make sure they're a bit tighter before we torque it. So they're pretty much... yeah, that's tight. So now we're gonna torque it. Now we've got this set on 23 Newton meters, which is 203 foot-pounds of torque. So let's see what this thing does now. Wait for the 2 clicks. 1, 2. So that's 2 clicks. You have to make sure you already tightened them beforehand. You don't tighten it with this. You just torque it with this. So every manufacturer vehicle has a different torque setting for different parts of the vehicle, so you need to know what torque setting you need for certain parts of the screws. Okay, let's go again. So into here for 2 clicks. 1, 2, I think that's it. Okay, let's do this one. 1, 2. One, 2. And that's it. Done. We're going to put the handlebar back on. Now when you put the handlebar back on, you also need to make sure it's centralized. So I've already pre-marked it from before. So we've got the center line here. So we've got the center line here. I've marked it here. You can see that mark there. Just make sure it's in the center. If you don't put the center, you're going to have uneven handling when you come to turning. Your arms are not going to be reaching out even on the handlebars. Okay, so you need to get the angle right before you put them on. Right, so should have taken this off, but can't be bothered. It's not a big thing. And so again, we're going to use the Allen keys to tighten them. When we tighten them a lot. We tighten them to the point where it's not going to come off. Don't tighten them all the way until they're all on. So anyway, these handlebar risers give you 30mm rise, and you get 20mm more in towards the rider. So it's a slight adjustment. It's not a huge, massive difference, but every little helps. And with this bike is, I just feel it's too it's just too leaned over for what the bike is, so making long journeys is a lot more difficult. So I decided I'm going to rise the handlebars. I did take it out for a test ride before, earlier on today, to see how it feels. I mean, it's a bit of an improvement. I wouldn't say it's a mega difference, but any little bit of comfort goes a long way on long rides. Last time I went to Lake District, I come back with numb hands and sore back, and it's not age. A lot of you riders saying, "Oh, you're getting old." Well, no. When I was young and riding sport bikes, it's the same problem. You get arthritis before you know it. The best bike is a cruiser, but if you've got naked, you've got summer in the middle. Now you see these gaps here, we need to just make sure they get closed in. Just gotta keep an eye on the center here to make sure that it doesn't go out of place. Right, so one thing I've noticed is that these gaps, I don't know why it does that. It's somewhat to do with when you first screw them in. So I think I want to push them up as much as I can. I don't want it to touch the ignition cover. You've got literally a millimeter almost touching the cover when you do a full lock, so you can get away with it. It's kind of awkward. Right, so now we can tighten them up. Now we're going to do hand tight as much as we can. You know what? It's not in the middle again. Bollocks. Hold on. It's not in the middle. This is the problem. When you're tightening it, the bar might slightly move. So, yeah, that's better. So I'd tighten it like that first, and yeah, so that's in place now. So that's in place. That's more or less spot on. Now let's tighten them. One. Trying to do the same force for each one. One. One, yeah. Right, so that's tight enough. So you can see these gaps here, but don't worry about these gaps. That's just the design. They're not going to close in. You want to make sure these are nice and tight. The last thing you want is, I mean, you're supposed to use Loctite for these, I reckon, but it's not on the manual. But you should use Loctite. But we're going to torque tighten it, and that should hopefully be enough. Right, here we go. The torque tighten. Yeah, so it's supposed to be 2 clicks. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the first time I'm using a torque wrench. And that's it. Job's a good one. Torque tightened. Ready to race.